Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're pleased to see Professor Enrique, from the University of Granada. Thank you for being with us. If you are ready, we can start.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. The first question is, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your work at the University of Granada?
First of all, I would like to say very many thanks to your institute because for the invitation. Mm-hmm. For me, it's a really, really big pleasure to be here with you. Mm-hmm. So, my work at the University of Granada, I began working at the University of Granada just a few months after completing or finishing my studies at the Moscow State University. So, my work at the University of Granada has developed, I would say, in three main areas. First of all, as a lecturer, as a teacher, I've spent the last 30 years teaching at the University of Granada, mainly teaching Russian language, Russian for translators and interpreters, and courses related to, of course, to translation, mainly from Russian into Spanish. Mm-hmm. The second moment is my life as an academic administrator. I've taken a wide range, I would say, of responsibilities at the University of Granada. Mm-hmm. I've served as head of area, head of department of Greek and Slavic philology, coordinator of the degree of modern languages and cultures, and academic secretary of the Faculty of Translation. And the last 8 years, I was dean of the Faculty of Translation and Interpreting. Mm-hmm. And third, as a researcher, of course, because I'm at the moment principal investigator of the research group Slavic Philology Studies, and of course I've taken part in different kinds of projects as a main researcher or a researcher, national and international projects.
Thank you very much. That's very impressive and such a rich experience. So how are you enjoying your visit to the academic cuisine of Eurasian Humanities Institute, and what are your impressions so far?
Of course, it's, as you know, it's my first time here in Astana, but I had already been in contact with you and with your institute, at least during the last year, I would say, looking for possible ways of cooperation with your institute. I would like to say that I truly enjoyed the visit to the university.
Thank you.
I would say, of course, that it is an excellent institution, clearly committed to education in the humanities and languages, and my impressions so far are extremely positive. The students, as far as I know, are really good, truly enthusiastic about what they do. And of course, I would like to mention, of course, the rector, Nurbanu Tokemovna, and of course, here sitting with us, Saltanat Miramova, director of the Department of International Cooperation and Internationalization, who put so much dedication into their work and always strive to achieve the best things for your institute.
Thank you very much. That's very nice to hear about our institution, such a kind words. So you have worked with students from different countries, right? Do you notice any differences in how they learn languages? I
think there are really big differences. The way the students approach language learning, I would say that is closely connected to the country they come from and the broader culture of foreign language in their educational environment. I think that's very important. It is clear what is related to Kazakhstan and Kazakh students that are introduced into foreign languages from a very early age, so that they have that early exposure is reflected in the learning process. I would say that the students I have here and in the Eurasian University are really good and really speak very well languages. So I think that their commitment, their motivation, and the openness to languages at a very early age is an important moment for that very high level, I think.
And when you teach translations, so what do students usually find the most difficult?
Something difficult is that I'm not sure about students, generally speaking, understanding how important it's to know very well the culture, the literature, and the language from you are translating from. And of course, how important is also knowing very well the language they are translating into. These are two clearly, for me, different moments where you should achieve a very high level. Because if you don't control these two dimensions, it's difficult to achieve a very high level in translation, mainly in translation to the language. I usually, when I answer to these questions, because it's not the first time I answer to this question, remember my father that was teacher of Greek and Latin, and of course, as you can understand, these are languages that you translate. And he insisted very strongly in the fact that you should always look for the best possible final version of any translation. And that's what our students should think about thinking, about looking for the best possible translation, and of course about knowing quite well the cultures and the languages they are studying now.
From your experience, what helps students improve their skill the most?
In my experience, I was living in England for a certain time. I was living in Russia for 6 years while I did my study in the Moscow State University. Is living and interactive with native speakers of the language. That's the key moment for speaking very well any language and for understanding very well any language. Because only this kind of close contact will give you the sensitivity you need for truly understand any text or any oral intervention. That what you need for being a good translator. Of course, I remember usually when I answer to these questions, because of course it's not the first time I answer to these questions, a very well known Brazilian linguist, Estela Tagni, who published a book that I recommend everybody. In Portuguese is Do jeito que a gente diz, the way we say it. And the central questions of this book is the following thing. Why does a foreigner who speaks so correctly still sometimes sound strange to us? And in this book, she highlights in a very interesting way the importance of pragmatics. I mean, only in that way you can speak as a native speaker. That's something we could try to do. Of course, for foreigners, because we are all foreigners. You're a foreigner speaking in English and a foreigner speaking in Russian or in English. We should always think about the possibility of speaking like native speakers. So, and in that way, for that, you need to live with native speakers. There is no other way for that.
Very fascinating. So, and last but not least, what advice would you give to students who want to build career in languages or translations?
The main advice I would say is to learn languages properly. What does it mean? I think sometimes if I answered if I give such an answer, it could be said that that is something obvious, that you should speak language properly. Yeah. But now there's a really dangerous moment, is the rise of new technologies that are reducing, and that's important for me, the cognitive effort we sometimes make. So it's we should keep constantly working constantly on our ability to speak and write languages properly. For me, this moment remains essential for that. So, at the same time, we, as educators, also have an important responsibility, and that's that we must stay attentive to the needs of the labor market that are changing a lot. So, because I think that there will be continue to be demand of translators and interpreters, but professionals that will work in the future will be more versatile, I think. In many cases, employers will expect them to handle both kind of work, interpreting and translation, and especially, I would say, bilateral interpreting, that it's quite needed at the moment. Above all, future professionals must be able to offer something beyond that the machine and the automatic translator can do. That's our aim now. So the added value, what is the added value of people translating instead of machines? It's linguistic precision, cultural understanding, flexibility, and human judgment. And I think these moments make now the difference.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's our end of our interview, and thank you for coming. Thank you for your answer to our question, and we hope to collaborate with your esteemed university in the future as well. Thank you very much.
I hope so also. Thank you very much for your